Right.
And
you don't want to draft your Marcus
I don't
Russell.
know. And I don't know, that he is mature enough and he's, ready enough to, take this on and take this next step that's going to come with, the fame and fortune. And what's going to happen? The same thing with Cam Newton. When it's going to be a lot different when that paycheck comes in every week and it's thousands and thousands of dollars. You hear about a guy like Eric Ainge who comes out and talks about his drug use and, the effect that it had on his life. And he basically talks about how easy it was to fall into those traps. A guy like Mallet who's already fallen into that, it scares me. I would definitely take a flyer on him in the second round. But, we've heard a team like the Bengals connected to him, and I don't know when the Bengals are going to get it. I don't know when Marvin Lewis is going to get it, that you can't take guys like this. And they could do it all day long because, I don't root for the Bengals because they could suck up all those guys like that. And, my problem with that is that if you're going to take Mallet, if you're the Bengals, and you're going to surround him by guys who have the same issues, what do you think is going to happen? So I hope for Ryan Mallet's sake that he gets to a franchise that's going to, really, in essence, baby him so that he could grow. Because I'd really like to see him succeed. Decision-making on the field's got to get a little bit better in critical instances, but I just, I almost hope for him. One of the guys that, people have been talking about, too, has been Andy Dalton, who is one of the winningest quarterbacks now, and he's the winningest quarterback and one of the most successful ever statistically in TCU history. So, where do you place him in this mess of first-round potential quarterbacks?
Well, Dalton and Ponder are kind of getting grouped together. They're both similar prospects. They're both West Coast. They're being labeled as West Coast-type quarterbacks, but they both have enough arm strength to make all the throws in the NFL. Dalton, I'm not really high on Dalton. In my opinion, he's a second, third round pick, and he could go as high as 15 to the Dolphins. You don't know. I'm a little bit higher on Ponder. I've always liked him. I've watched a lot of him at Florida State, and the guy really could make all the throws. He's athletic, he's mobile, he's smart, and then he went to the Senior Bowl, had a great week of practice, was the MVP of the game. He was absolutely the most impressive quarterback at the Combine. And I think some of the injury concerns with him are a little bit overblown. And I think I've heard comparisons to Chad Pennington, and I don't really see that. I think he's got a better arm than Chad Pennington. Actually, this is maybe not a great comparison as to how this guy ended up being, how he ended up working out in the NFL, but strictly from a prospect level, he kind of reminds me of Brady Quinn. But you're going to be able to get him, the very end of the first round instead of 22nd or wherever Quinn went, or maybe even the second round. So I like Ponder.
Well, if you're saying that scares me too, because Brady Quinn hasn't had much success. He's been.
I'm saying strictly as a prospect, though. I'm not how he. What Brady Quinn was when he was coming out of college.
You're looking for a clipboard holder. Brady Quinn's your man.
But anyway, the problem I have with both of them, both Dalton and Ponder, is I could see them succeeding because like I said, they have all the necessary tools to succeed in the NFL, but they don't really wow you in any one area. So it goes back to what we were saying before. Are they good enough to be elite quarterbacks in the league? They could be solid, average, 18 to 25 in that range, quarterbacks in the NFL. But are they going to be one of the elite guys? And I just don't see it, and that's why I wouldn't draft any of these guys. But go ahead.
I think that the spots in this draft are going to be later on. I'm a huge fan of Greg McElroy. He had to put a little bit more of the team on his shoulders this year. He's by far the most intelligent quarterback in this draft. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but he's going to complete a lot of passes. He's going to complete them at a high rate. If you're going to be able to get him in the 4th or 5th round, you're going to get a steal, and he could end up being the best quarterback in this draft. And Ricky Stanzi is another guy who took a big leap this year. If we get Ricky Stanzi at maybe the end of the 2nd, beginning of the 3rd round, I think that's a much better value than taking some of these guys in the middle or late 1st round.
I agree. The 4th, 5th, 6th round, that's where you can take a chance on a quarterback. And if you're using a 2nd or 3rd round pick, you're investing too much into a guy that's probably not going to contribute right away. I mean, few rookie quarterbacks do. But, a lot of those teams, you're playing a rookie quarterback that you drafted in the 2nd or 3rd round. Like we said, they find themselves picking in the top 10 the next year, and then it's, this big decision that we take a 1st round quarterback, and most of the time they do, and those 2nd and 3rd round picks just become wasted picks right off, a year later. But I agree with you. 4th, 5th, 6th round, you want to take a chance on a guy like McElroy or, Stanzi or even Pat Devlin, someone like that. That's the spot to do it. But that's about all the time we have in our highly experimental first ever podcast.
And just so we hit on this last point, just since we're on quarterbacks, I can pretty much guarantee you that Tyrod Taylor will get drafted probably in the late 6th, 7th round. When you put his numbers up against everyone else's, he doesn't complete. He completes about 60% of his passes, but he doesn't make many mistakes. And he's eager to learn. So, he's another guy that I think he's definitely going to get drafted. He actually could get drafted a lot higher than we're saying right now, but that's about it for draftable quarterbacks.
Right. I mean, we could sit here and talk about these guys for hours, but I mean, if you guys want to see our full board on any position, but for quarterback specifically, our final board is up on NFLRoughDraft.com, and we're going to try to do a few more of these podcasts before next Thursday's draft, and then we're going to try to actually just make this a regular thing from this point on. So we'll see how it goes, and
we'll post. We'll make sure that we do a podcast. We'll post it the night after the 1st round about our reactions and what to expect for day 2 of the draft.
Right. So that's all the time we have for right now. But thanks for listening, and thanks for stopping by the site. And Ray and I are going to go talk about our final mock draft and try to put up another high accuracy score on the Huddle Report's final rankings. Been pretty lucky for the past few years. Hopefully we can do that again. But thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.